So there's that, but then finally it's the surface you're working on. Now, quite often, if you buy a canvas straight from the art supplier, it'll look lovely and white. You open it out of its packet, it looks fantastic, but it's quite scratchy. It's almost like sandpaper, and that's just because it has had raw gesso on it. Now, I stretched a canvas on Friday from scratch. See if I can find it for you. I'll show you what I used. So I had an old canvas that I didn't want anymore. So I took it off the stretcher and then I re-stretched. So I bought some raw canvas. So you can see that's raw canvas. That's just raw fabric. And then you can see I've painted this stuff on top. So this is gesso. So I've given this, it's quite a big canvas here. So I've given this canvas one layer of gesso. And gesso is what's in this pot here. So this pot is just regular bog standard gesso. And gesso is essentially emulsion paint, which is the stuff that we put on our ceilings and our walls. It's very chalky and it's bound with a sort of a glue, like a PVA glue. So it's 50% PVA glue, 50% emulsion. It's not exactly that, but it's the closest equivalent. And what that does is that will stop, that's the safety barrier, that's the protection barrier that stops oil paint rotting the canvas. Because if I was to put oil paint onto raw canvas here, over time, in about 10, 20 years, the oil paint will basically rot away, this raw canvas. It will rot away and it will disappear and all the paint will flake off. So what this does is this gesso is a safety barrier that stops the oil rotting the canvas. What gesso is not is giving us the perfect surface to paint on, and that's the often misconception that when you buy a brand new white canvas that it's perfect to paint on. Now, for some people it might be, but more often not for me, it's not. It's too, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's horrible. It's like nails on a chalkboard. It's much rougher and horrible. It's not particularly nice. So what I do is I give this probably 2 layers of gesso to make sure this canvas is perfectly protected. And then I'll cover it with one final layer of paint, which gives me the surface to work on beautifully. So I used to use acrylic paint, just white acrylic. If you put white acrylic over that, that's going to be smooth enough. You'll still see the texture of the canvas because you still want a bit of the tooth, we call that, to grip the paint. We still want that, but it takes away that scratchy heaviness. In the olden days, they would use rabbit skin glue. And if you want to go traditional, you could use rabbit skin glue. And that, again, gives you that much smooth kind of quality. But you have to boil rabbit skins to get that effect. You can buy granules for that, but it's very smelly and not particularly animal friendly as a product. So, of course, then the more modern conventional products, if you're not using a straight acrylic, so there's a type of acrylic you can see that's been well squeezed, that I use that sometimes. But then if I don't use that, which I'm not, I'm using more and more, I'm using this, which is the same sort of stuff. So it's called non-absorbent acrylic primer by Michael Harding. So what this is white acrylic paint. So basically this is normal bog standard white acrylic paint, but there's an extra ingredient in it that stops that paint, oil paint or acrylic paint, kind of sucking and absorbing into the canvas a bit like a sponge. The secret ingredient is marble, ground up marble. So it's Michael Harding non-absorbent acrylic primer. I think you can get this all around the world. So it's basically acrylic with a little bit of marble dust kind of put in. So when I would put one coat of this on top of that, and then I'd have a lovely smooth surface that the paint moves around and it's all very beautiful and gorgeous.